Okay, I wanted to share with you guys some tools that you can use within Google Sheets for your data project. So I'm using the pre-course survey data right now to show you some things that you can do. So you actually have, if you want to play around with data sets and not mess up your own, I think I sent you guys a link so that you can get a copy of this on your own. So if you want to try this with the same data set I am, it won't mess up mine because you'll have a copy. So I'm actually in Google Forms. And so when you're in Google Forms, once you've created a survey, and there's some videos on that that I've linked to in the project, you can click here to get responses, and this will give you some data visualizations. You can see some pie charts and some bar graphs and such. But what I'd like you to do is to have this dump into a spreadsheet. So if you click here, it will make it into a Google spreadsheet. Okay, and I've already done that. Now, some of this information, depending on what kind of data question you're trying to answer, may not be helpful. So like this column here, the timestamp of when people actually took the survey is not helpful to me. So if I click on the top of the column and click on this little triangle, there is a hide column. It doesn't delete the information, it just hides it. I also don't need people's email addresses, so I'm going to hide that. I also don't, for you guys sharing data that you collect from other people, I'd like for that to be anonymous, what you share with me and what you share with the class. So if you send this out to people and you ask their name or something like that, you should probably take that out. So I'm going to hide your names as well, even though we already know some of that. Now, I had a long answer question here, which is helpful to give some context, but in terms of analyzing stuff, it's not super helpful for me, so I'm going to hide this one as well. Okay, so then I have, just to strictly work with numbers and some other stuff, I have what age did you first use a computer, what age did you first own a computer, and then I have male, female here, and then I have when buying or fixing a computer, who do you typically ask, and that was like a choose which. I think actually that was an open-ended. Yeah, looking at that, that's an open-ended. Okay, this one was a choose from a list possibility. So let's say, for example, that a question I'm interested in is there a big difference between when male and female students in this group of 8 people first used a computer? Maybe that's an interesting question. I don't know. We'll find out. One thing I can do is, and it just happens to be that you all answered, all the women in the class answered first and all the men answered next. But if you needed to sort something, I'll do it over here. At what age did you first use a computer? So if I click here, if I click on this little triangle, another option is to sort A to Z. So if that's text information, it will alphabetize it. And if it's a number information, it will go from least to greatest, or you can do Z to A, which will do the opposite. Okay, so this will give me sorted. It keeps all this stuff in, aligned, so it's not just changing these cells. So that gives me that information sorted, least to greatest. Another thing I could do is just say, okay, I'm only interested in looking at the male responses over here. So if I click on, I'm going to click somewhere so it's not selected, create a filter. I'm going to say create a new filter. And oops, I actually didn't want to create it there. Clear. Okay, so whoops, nope, that's not at all what I wanted. Select all. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're back. So this is the column that I want to, and I'm going to widen it so it's a little easier to see. This is the column that I want to filter for, so I only want to see male responses. So if I go to, I think I might be able to do it from here as well. No, okay, so I'll go to now the column selected, I'm going to click on create a filter, create a new filter, and then now I get a different triangular thing here with the lines. If I click there, I can say I only want to check off that I want to see male. And I click OK. All right. Then I just get the male student responses. Okay. And then I could also sort within this. It's already sorted, as you can see, so I can get information that way. So that's helpful. I'm going to remove my filter for a second. Okay, so to remove a filter, you just go there and click that. It should be gone. Okay, so now I get male and female responses. There is a tool that's really helpful in Google Sheets down here called Explore. It's really helpful for helping you do charts and graphs and visualizations. There's a insert chart tool here, but I like to use this one, and I'll show you why. So if you click on Explore, it's going to suggest some things to you, and some of it may not be helpful, and some of it may be helpful. Okay, so you can ask a question about your data, but they have some suggestions here. So look at this one. Average of at which age did you first use a computer, male versus female. So that was a piece of information I wanted. So I'm going to click on this little, I can click here to like preview it. Okay, that's the information. It's a pivot table. Okay, very quick. All right, so now I can close this, or I can click Insert Pivot Table. It will create it on a new sheet or an existing sheet. I'm just going to create it on a new sheet. Okay, so then it goes over here, and you can adjust column width. You probably know that. Okay, so that gives me that piece of information. As it so happens, not a huge difference in data here. Okay. But you can use that over and over to get different questions answered. Okay, so count of how many would describe yourself. Okay, so this one looks like it could have some information that's helpful, but it's not helpful because it's the same question. All right, it's like on both axes. How would you describe yourself with computers? Check all that apply. How would you describe yourself with computers? Check all that would apply. Okay, but you could edit them. If I close here, you can actually edit some of these charts if you click edit. Okay, so you could choose data ranges and rows and that kind of stuff and update it. Okay, so my hope is that you would use this to be able to use your own data and show something interesting. Think about how you'd use this with students if you're working with students. It could be weather information, location information, anything like that. I will show you some other tools later that are really sophisticated uses of data. Not that I'm expecting you to create that at all, because that's a huge data set that they're working with, but how you can use data that's already there, public data sets, to as a learning tool with kids, or your staff. So I hope this was a little bit helpful, and feel free to email me if you have any questions about the project.